Welcome back to This Week in Video Games, and I'm here with Rami Ismail. And welcome, Rami. How's it going?
I'm good. It's been an interesting week or so, but I'm actually doing pretty good at the moment.
And yeah, it's kind of unprecedented times, so I hope everything's going well with you. And have you had any kind of personal coping strategies during these times?
Well, yeah, the first week was just curl up and cry, and then I think the second week was just Animal Crossing. I think that's really like honestly, that's all I've been doing. I started Animal Crossing the day it came out. I check up on my villagers in the morning. I get to work, have some breakfast. Then I'll take a break from work, or whenever I hear that sound of that balloon floating by, with the gift under it, I'll pop the balloon because I'll just have my Switch next to me. I actually muted it now for the recording. So I'm missing out on all these good presents. But Animal Crossing has been really helpful for me. I don't know. I'm normally obviously part of my work involves a lot of travel, a lot of meeting people, a lot of talking to people, and being in different places. And that contrast has always, looking at it from here where I'm in one place for so long. I think the last time I've been in one location for this long must have been like 8 or 9 years ago. So for me, this is very strange, and it feels like my world got really small. And Animal Crossing reminds me that everybody is still out there, and everybody is still trying to like do good stuff and have a good time, and it's been really reassuring in that way.
Have you found this kind of transition to the remote working? Is that going okay?
Well, the thing is, so I actually, for me, the problem is the opposite of the problem that a lot of people have. I'm used to remote work. This is just homework. I've never done that before. Like, I have an office at home, and I'll work on it for the week I'm in the Netherlands, and then I, jet off to another place or drive off to another country, or so I'm used to like working on the road from my backpack, sitting at like an airport gate, trying to upload a build before my flight goes, doing an interview in like the 10 minutes before I have to go through airport security, like, stopping my car during a road trip and like taking a phone call about something important. That's what I'm used to. Now I just wake up. I take the like 7 steps from my bedroom to the office, and I can work. And it's just very odd. I think I'm having the opposite problem of a lot of people, where instead of remote work, I'm now working from an office. It's just my office. Nobody else is here, but it's been interesting. It is. I guess this is what life looks like for a lot of people. It's kind of, yeah, it's different.
It's I wonder if this I mean this situation will obviously force the hand. I think people have been dabbling in remote working across various industries, and I wonder if this will kind of have a permanent effect in the games industry. For example, I know Bungie, they're still rolling out features to Destiny 2 all via remote working, and I was wondering if you think this will have a kind of a permanent effect in the future.
I mean, I sure hope so. Like, obviously, one of the best things about this is normally the reason to not spin up a full remote working infrastructure is because you want people to be in the office as much as possible, because that's just how it works. I think now being forced to deal with the reality that we can't do that is forcing a lot of companies to really invest in creating that infrastructure, making sure it works well, making sure it works at scale, and replacing the value of a lot of in-office interactions. Now, I don't think we'll ever be able to fully replace those, but for a lot of people working in games, there isn't that, like, obviously for a lot of the creative team and for leadership, there's a huge reason to require that. But for a lot of people working on the games, creating assets, creating code, it's not necessarily better to have to go to an office. There's obviously people that work better in office environments, with the social parts of office life around them. There are people that work better outside of that, and there's people that some days are the one thing, some days are the other. This infrastructure will clearly show that it is possible. I think that's one of the interesting things about this whole situation is it is showing a lot of things that we were told are impossible or wrong or just not right to actually be very possible and very just right. So I don't know. I mean, it makes me hopeful that people will be more free to choose how they work and where they work and from where they work. Hopefully, it'll cut back on commute times for a lot of people a little. Um, Spending time with the family, having a bit more control over how your hours work. All of that comes together. And this, obviously, there's the opposite risk there as well. A lot of indies suffer from overworking because their office is now at home, so they can always hop back into work. So there'll be a lot of social and emotional managing there as well. But obviously, offering the choice for people with disabilities, for people with long commutes, for people who have families, like having this option and having such clear evidence that this is just possible, and that work continues, even though, limited or reduced, but that for a lot of people, they can still work at full productivity. I think that's good news. And I think as this crisis extends or continues, more and more of the obstacles will be reevaluated or will be considered. Like we shouldn't pretend that this is as good a situation as before now, right? Like the remote working is definitely less efficient than the in-office work for games in general at the moment, but I can't 100% tell if that is because it's just inefficient or that it's that we're not used to it. And I guess that's a question we'll get an answer to.
It's so maybe there's some kind of silver lining in this situation, and there'll be some positive effects afterwards. I guess, related to working practices as well. Do you think some of our gaming events are going to be permanently changed? I know, for example, EGX Res Digital is kind of running for these few days. They got some great talks, and they're made available over the weekend. But we saw it quite early on in the year with GDC. I think was cancelled first, and I know you were heavily involved with helping out people after that event got cancelled. But then E3 got cancelled, and now I'm assuming Gamescom will be cancelled if it's not already. So do you think the way that we hold gaming events and is going to be permanently changed too?
It's so last year I organized with a group of friends. I organized GameDev.world, which was an entirely online, virtual, and free games conference. We translated all of the talks across 8 languages, so speakers could speak in whatever language they wanted, and we would just translate it. And it was interesting because back then the idea of a virtual conference was sort of unheard of, right? And that is June of last year. And we're 1 year later, and everybody has to do a virtual conference now because there's no way to get together. The interesting thing about GameDev.world is our idea was to separate the act of knowledge sharing in talks and communication and workshops from the social networking aspect of conferences, right? Because conferences offer these two very distinct opportunities to people. On the one hand, you can go gain information, gain knowledge, listen to your peers, listen to veterans of the industry, listen to how certain decisions got made. On the other side, you get to meet people, talk to people, pitch to people, start collaborations with people. And I don't think that second one is as easy to reproduce online. But I think that first part can 100% be done online. And I think what we're seeing now is being forced into the position of having to do it. It's actually very easy. It's barely an inconvenience, I guess. But the trick to all of this is, can we keep it in such a way that events will keep offering these services so that people can go or participate or gain knowledge after it's possible again to lock the doors? Because that's the big thing. Most of these conferences just can't lock their online doors. If a video is on the internet, people will watch it, right? And it's the same way GDC has the GDC Vault, but there are entire communities around the world where they can only afford to send 1 or 2 people, so those 1 or 2 people will go, and then they'll just do evenings where they watch the GDC vault with the community together, right? So in that regard, I think the trick is more, can we keep it this way? Can we make sure that this video content, this online content, becomes a supplemental part of games conferences, and that the social function continues to be offline, but that people can participate in these talks live as they happen, maybe even do Q&A like we did with GameDev.world, and figure things out from there.
That's really cool. And I guess talking about Game Dev World that you put on last year, what were the kind of tools and bits and pieces that you found to create that social interaction? What did you find that worked for you best?
Well, so the interesting thing about Game Dev World, I think for us, was that it was across 8 languages, right? Some of our participants could not, most of our participants could not speak to other participants because there was a language barrier there, and that was actually a huge wall we weren't quite ready for. Like, translating the talks was easy, translating the interaction in chat, that was a lot harder, having moderation for things there. Recreating the social circumstances of an event, I don't think you can do that online, not at the moment at least. You can get close, but you know, at GDC I've seen deals happen because somebody sat down next to somebody and just 10 minutes later they're talking about their project and a deal happens, right? You can't really, that doesn't work in chat. It doesn't work with Zoom. It doesn't, like, that's just not how it works. Online, almost everything has to be intentional, right? You set up a meeting, you set up a call, because there's no other filtering methods. The advantage of a physical space is you can sit down on a bench to take a break from work, and then somebody else sits down on that bench for a break from work, and now a conversation could happen, right? And that's not really something you can do online as easily. So I think that's the biggest obstacle, is that there's less of an ad hoc interaction context that is easy to replicate online without just going the MMO route of replicating a physical space online and then having avatars. But I don't think any of us really have the time or stamina to go sit here and play World of Warcraft for like 5 days straight, and sitting in virtual rooms listening to virtual avatars speak. I just don't, like, I know there's products like that. I don't think that's the solution. I think we'll have to find some sort of abstraction to do this, a similar thing online. These are things we are thinking about with GameDev.world, but for now we're really focusing on how do we share knowledge.
When will you be putting on your next event?
So we're currently discussing a next event. So in response to GDC being cancelled, we've been working with the GameDev.world team really hard on making sure that people that got stuck in travel or abroad can return home. We've dealt with most of the cases that we were offered. There's still a few people that are stuck. I think we still have an Argentinian and some Peruvians that are stuck in the United States, and there's just still groups of people that can't go home and are stuck in foreign countries without resources. So we're trying to help and assist as much as we can in that. Then on the other side, the other problem is that a lot of people are out of a lot of money, and especially the people that are more marginalized, that have less money to start with. They usually take the cheaper tickets, they take the cheaper hotels, they skip on the insurance, because nobody thinks that GDC is ever going to get canceled, right? And if something bad happens in your family, some people will still opt to go to GDC because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a lot of people, right? While with this, a lot of people spend all of their money and there's just no way to get it back. And in 2013, I think, I did a blog post where I evaluated how much it feels like to go to GDC for every country in the world, right? Trying to figure out what the sort of like feeling cost is. So something that we could all agree on, as like a sort of a monetary representation, because it's really hard to say like, well, for an American it's $1,500 to go to GDC, but for a South African it's $2,500, because those numbers are still very different. $2,500 to somebody from South Africa is very different than $2,500 from somebody from the US. So for a lot of people, this is a year of salary or multiple years of salary. And that money is just gone. It just evaporated, and there's no way to get it back. A lot of airlines are pointing at travel agencies. A lot of travel agencies point back at airlines. We're helping people navigating that, but it's getting harder as more help desks close, so we can't really help with that. We're organizing a game jam that's currently happening and a live stream this coming week. So the game jam is happening until Monday, but we're accepting existing work. So if people have games they want to add, we're basically, everything that gets made during this weekend or everything that gets submitted will be sold as a pay what you want bundle during a live stream that we're doing next week. And all and every part of revenue for that goes towards the GDC Relief Fund, which is spearheaded by Wings. And Wings is a diversity fund that supports marginalized developers. And in response to GDC's cancellation, they set up this fund to help pay back people that lost a lot of money in this. So if people are listening to this on Sunday, that's also one of the last days you can apply to the fund. So if you are a developer that is out of money because of GDC's cancellation, then make sure you do go to the wingsfund.me/GDC relief and fill out your information, because there might be a way we can help.
So I'll put a link down in the show notes in the description for this, so it's nice and easy for people to get hold of that. Wow, it's so much has happened over the last few weeks. It's been so rapid, and
yeah, March has been a very long year. It's something. It's just when you consider what we were up to in like February, it's impossible to imagine how much our world has changed, right? I don't know. We're living history, which is weird, and there's obviously people getting hurt. The Netherlands is grappling with the situation in its own way. Everybody is trying to figure out how to deal with it. People are losing loved ones and family and friends, and people's big events have been canceled. I have 2 friends that were getting married. That's not happening. They're probably still getting married, but the wedding got postponed. Our life has changed so fast. You're not really ready for this kind of what is it? Like, it feels like a whiplash almost. Like everything was fine, and then now I go to the supermarket and it looks like a military operation. I don't know. Like I said, I'm glad Animal Crossing is there, because
I'd never actually played Animal Crossing until the last couple of weeks. It was I played Stardew Valley, but I'd never played Animal Crossing. And honestly, I'm a massive Nintendo fan. I grew up on Nintendo, so I play. My first console was a NES and SNES, and throughout the kind of generations of Nintendo. But I've never played Animal Crossing, and I'm really pleasantly surprised with it.
Isn't it lovely? It's funny because my first console was also a NES, but it was by accident, because I had told my dad to get a PlayStation, but my dad is half Egyptian, and he lives in the Netherlands. But when he has to buy something expensive back in the days, we didn't grow up with money or anything. We were a working class family, and so my dad would always, when I had expensive gifts I wanted, he would always go to the black market up north in the country and buy things there. And some salesman convinced him that this was the PlayStation, and he bought something called a Polystation, which is a knockoff PlayStation. It looks exactly like a PlayStation, but inside it's just a NES chip. And instead of a CD drive, it has a cartridge reader for these custom cartridges that have 99-in-1 games. So I was super excited for my PlayStation to get home, and I had never seen a PlayStation box before either, right? I'd just seen the PlayStation at my friend's. So I I unwrapped it, I like unboxed it, and then I tried to open it to pop in a disc, and there was this cartridge reader, and I was just like, wait, what? I booted it up, and it had like Super Mario and Contra and a bunch of. So I accidentally ended up with. It said 99 in one, but the way those work is there's basically 9 games, right? And then those get repeated 11 times, but each of them are weird hacks or mods. So game number 1 would be like Super Mario Bros. But then game number 11 would be Super Luigi Bros. And they would just swap the sprites for Mario and Luigi. So player 1 would be Luigi. It was stuff like that. And I mean, I loved it. My first console. I'd been playing a bit on PC, and I'd been modding a bit on PC when I was young. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that if I changed words on the screen, the game would change. So I'd been doing that for a while, since I was 6 or something. But I didn't speak English, so it was mostly me changing like text strings, changing descriptions or the speed of vehicles in racing games or whatever. Back in those days, most of the games would just come with plain text files that you could modify. They just wouldn't be called text files. It would be like, this is a data file, and then you open it in Notepad, and it's just like, here's the text, just change the numbers. So that's kind of where I started. But I really wanted that PlayStation, and I ended up not getting a PlayStation until the PlayStation 4 came out. I had an Xbox before that, a 360.
Yeah, I had a similar path actually. It was kind of Nintendo all the way up until about Xbox, and then I bought a PlayStation 4 with the original Destiny actually.
Oh, nice. I only remember I got the 360 because I really liked. A few years earlier, there was this Xbox, not the Xbox 360, but like the actual Xbox. It had a demo in the toy store in my city, and on that device, on that demo device, was a game called Fusion Frenzy. And Fusion Frenzy was this party game that you could play with up to 4 players, and it was this mix of mini games. And it reminded me of an arcade cabinet that I used to play in Egypt called Panic Park. It was made by Namco, and this thing was wild. It was actually banned in most of the world because it caused too many injuries. But no, I'm not kidding. This is real. The way it worked is it was similar. It was this mix of mini games, and it was a 2-player game. You had a blue player and a red player, and you had these 2 giant sticks that were in rails that were the only interface you had. You had these 2 sticks. And the blue stick basically translated 1-to-1 on the screen with where your character was. So you can kind of imagine this rail was about as wide as the screen, right? And this blue stick would move, and then your character would just move to the position of your stick, but on the screen. And then there was the second player, which was a red stick, which was in the exact same rail. So if you wanted to go past each other, you couldn't. You would have to push each other. And then obviously the games were about trying to be in the right spot in the right time. So you ended up just like smashing these sticks into each other. And like pushing, I have so many memories of me and like siblings or friends just, full shoulder like bash into each other to grab a coin or something. I'm not surprised that thing got banned. But then I saw Fusion Frenzy, and I really wanted that, but I couldn't afford an Xbox. So when the 360 came out, Fusion Frenzy 2 was one of the games that came with it. So I bought the Xbox 360, and it turns out that sadly Fusion Frenzy 2 wasn't very good. So that was a bit disappointing. But the Xbox 360 was very good for me. It was an incredible device with so many good games. And obviously a lot of indie was focused around it at that time as well. So I got lucky with that pick.
It had a really good social platform as well. I remember the Xbox 360 or Xbox Live back then, and Burnout was pretty good. And I think that's how I originally got into kind of the online scene. And it's kind of tied into the next question, actually. I was wondering if you've been playing any kind of social games over the last few weeks online with your friends to sort of keep that kind of social interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I still play Destiny. I adore Destiny. A lot of Destiny is... A lot of my life includes Destiny. So I love that game. I still play it, not as much, because Animal Crossing came out. I've been playing Animal Crossing a lot. That's been really helpful. I've been, hanging out on Discord, just screen sharing, watching people play, or people watching me play games. I'm terrible at Doom. It turns out, Doom Eternal. It was weird because now that I'm thinking of it, I was also pretty bad at Doom 2016. But I enjoyed that game so much, right? It felt really Pac-Man arcade-ish. Like each of the arenas felt like this little wrap-around puzzle. And then instead of collecting pills, you were just shooting demons in the face, which was, yeah, I'll take it. And then this one has platforming added in there, and it's a bit harder to read, honestly. But besides that, it's a phenomenal version of that Doom 2016 game. So I've been having fun with that, but I just keep getting wrecked. So my rule is I play for up to 3 lives, and then I go back to Animal Crossing. I haven't made a lot of progress, so.
I really like the way the Animal Crossing and the Doom marketing kind of joined forces because of the release on the same day, and
So good.
rather than sort of be in competition with each other, they really sort of embraced it. That's really quite. I can't think of a time where that's happened before, but I thought that was awesome.
It's so weird because if you're in the games industry, this is how it works. Like everybody is cheering for each other. I remember at DICE, like the DICE Awards, right? Not DICE the company. At the DICE Awards a few years ago, I posted a photo that had Phil Spencer and Corey from God of War in a photo together, and Shuya Yoshida from PlayStation. And Phil Spencer's obviously Xbox. And they were all just very happy. Phil had just congratulated God of War for like sweeping all the awards. And when I posted that photo, so many people were acting as if this was some sort of blasphemy to have these people in the same photo. Like everybody is friends in the games industry. I don't really know what, like, 'cause sure, there's like politics and there's like personal rivalries and some people don't get along well, but I think we all agree that we're here because games are good. So it's really easy to cheer for each other. And it was the first time I've seen it that explicit on public, right? And that's really exciting. I loved it. Like the little images of like Isabel and the Doomslayer just like hanging out. Like make that how our industry works, please, just for everything.
I think my favorite one I saw was there was a 3D animation of I think Isabel was on drums, Doom Guy was on guitar, and I think they played something heavy. It was really, really cool, and it was really nice to see those two franchises kind of embrace. I mean, it's an amazing like it's some of the games that have come out in the last few weeks. It's been really, really fantastic. Not only Animal Crossing, Doom Eternal, but also Half-Life Alyx as well. Yeah. I don't know if you've had a chance to.
I haven't. I'm currently charging my VR headset because I have a Quest. So I'm charging it. I've got the link cable ready, and I can't wait to give it a go. But I haven't yet. So, I know a lot of the people that worked on it. And everybody that I know that worked on it is a phenomenal designer, creator, artist. Whatever their job is, they excel at it. So I can't wait to give it a go, because it's exciting, right? This is a fully developed game in an existing IP that we recognize, that we can basically compare to the flat game, right? The 2D rendered game. This is the first time you can do that, and VR has blown my mind over and over with your sense of immersion, your sense of presence, your the ability to like move and articulate your hands, and the level of interaction that sort of affords. And there's been a bunch of games that have really used that in interesting ways, but I think this is the first example of a game that it will be easy to compare, where you kind of look at it and go like, okay, so this is what is different between a VR game and a screen game. So that's really exciting. I can't wait to figure out what silly stuff you can do. And it makes me very excited because this game will inspire others, it will inform others, and it'll set a direction that I think is probably going to be very exciting.
I was on the fence about investing in VR, but luckily I did it this week, and I had an Oculus Rift delivered to me today. I can't wait. I've had enough of this reality. I'm jumping into the virtual world.
My island is doing very good. It's great. It's lovely. I've had a star shower yesterday, so I'm collecting stars on the beach. I have some friends that I've started a trading circle with where we just trade the items in stores. It's been really good. But yeah, no, isn't like I think because I've seen a lot of people in games that feel sort of helpless at the moment, right? They look at the current situation. They're like, we could have been useful. Like we could have been doctors. We could have been involved in like medical programming. We could have done more. A lot of people in games are very talented, very smart people that honestly tend to have choices of where they would have gone in their life, and they ended up here because they care about video games, right? And I've seen a lot of them sort of distraught over their choices in life, and it always makes me think of a conversation I had with my doctor when I was much younger, because I've always been scared of needles, right? Like injections terrify me. So if my doctor had to give me an injection, they would never tell me when I was a kid. I would just go to the doctor for a thing, and then they would try to like sneak in this just like jab this thing in my arm and get it over with, because it was way safer than having me slowly like stress out and freak out and then eventually like try to run away or panic. But I had a very kind doctor, and he always tried to distract me with like a riddle or a story or like asking me things, because I guess I like talking and I've always liked talking. So that time he asked me what I wanted to be, and I said, well, I really like video games, but I don't think that's a real job. Like my dad, who's, like I said, half Egyptian, so you grow up to like you can be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a disgrace to the family. Those are sort of like your four paths in life, right? I told my doctor, my dad said that I have to get like a real job, like be a doctor, so I can help people, and be like you. And he just looked at me and he just said like, you know what? Here's the deal. Video games make people happy, right? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. I'll keep people healthy, and then you make sure they're happy when they are, okay? And it just stuck with me for the rest of my life, because he was just trying to like jab me in the arm with a needle, but it was this really profound like sentiment. Happiness is important, and escapism is important, and the ability to escape reality every now and then and go to a place in which we can be somebody else, in which we can be powerful, in which we can be social, in which we can be friendly, in which we can be constructive, in which we can do the choices that we don't have in real life. Like all those things matter, and they matter during normal times, but they matter even more now. Like now these things are actually important. Games like this, Half-Life Alyx, Animal Crossing, but every game that's out there right now that gives people a little respite from what the world is critical to people's mental health, to people's ability to cope, to people's ability to stay inside, to people's ability to socialize. Like now more than ever, it's important that games exist. And I think in that regard, I've been trying to talk to, if I see people stress out about it, I try to talk to them, if it's something that they want to talk about, because I think it's important now. So I don't know, yeah, video games might be, I don't want to say that they're saving the world, but they're definitely helping people stay happy, and they might be helping the quarantine in that regard as well. Which, yeah, I guess my doctor was right. Who would have thought? Smart man.
And it's talking about kind of making games. I know obviously you've made some fantastic games, and has this? How has this situation affected the sort of development of your future project? I know you've got Ultrabugs kind of in play at the minute. How's that going?
I mean, it's going pretty well. Vlambeer has always been sort of a remote studio, so for us, it's not very different. I think the biggest thing that's happening right now is JW, my co-founder, is gearing up for the release of a solo project. Well, solo project wouldn't be the right word, because he's working with a group of collaborators that are all phenomenal creators. But that game is Disc Room, which will be releasing under Devolver Digital somewhere in the nearby future. I was supposed to get Ultrabugs done this month or next month, but given all the work I've been doing in helping developers out and make sure they get home, make sure they don't suffer too many financial burdens from this, obviously that's been delayed. So Ultrabugs is still coming out, it's just not coming out in the next month and a half, which was originally the plan. So yeah, we've been delayed, but I think we've mostly been delayed by choices of our own more than by the situation. Like, I just opted to focus on the community stuff, and JW just opted. I mean, he's done with Ultrabugs. There's nothing more he can do for that game. His work is done. So he just, switched focus to another project. So Vlambeer is still happening. It's just a little slower than usual, which I think is a very good spot for the company to be at the moment. I don't know if I would feel very good working really hard on releasing a game while I could be helping other people with this weird position I have in the industry. So,
if anyone out there really wants to sort of get in touch and help, other than donate to the GDC fund that you mentioned earlier, how could people get in touch and sort of help out? What's the best way to do that, do you think?
So for the coming week, there will be the Game Dev World livestream event. The schedule for that will be available at gamedev.world, which that's the full URL. It's gamedev.world. People can donate throughout the stream. We'll have a bunch of really fun content. We were originally going to do a pretty serious stream of talks, but as the situation developed, we realized that maybe that's not what people need or want right now. If they want to watch talks, they can do it on the GDC Vault or any of the other conferences that are just moving over to digital. So instead, we want to do more of a chill stream. Throughout that, people can donate to the fund and help us help other people. If people want to get involved in any other way, currently there isn't that much that we can do. The people that are stuck are just actually stuck. Some of them are stuck because their countries have closed their borders and the embassies have closed. We're exhausting every opportunity we have. If there's anybody who has ties to the embassies or governments of countries that still have game developers out there, obviously get in touch, because that would be very helpful. At the moment, I think the most helpful thing people can do is, stay informed of what is happening out there, keep track of the news, but don't overwhelm yourself with the news. Don't require yourself to check out every detail of everything that's happening. It's a weird situation in that the fight is global, but the way you can fight along is local. There's not much any of us can do on a global scale. Like, we can just make sure that the people around us are safe and healthy, and that in turn keeps other people safe and healthy. I don't know. The best thing I think you can do is take care of yourself and the people right around you, and if you do that, then things will be better, hopefully in the nearby future.
That's some really good advice there. And but before all of this stuff kicked off, I was wondering, Rami, if there was any kind of any indie games that you thought maybe people should be looking out for.
Oh, there are a lot of games happening. I have to admit that I haven't been paying attention the last month and a half. I continuously retweet stuff that I come across, and normally when I come across something that's really good or an indie developer reaches out to me, I'll put them on a list. And I have to admit that the list had to take a break while this is happening. I can go and look at what my list from PAX was, though. I know I came across a game but these aren't out yet. Yeah, there's this game called Saturnalia, like Saturn and then Alia. It's created by this company called Santa Ragione from Milan, Italy, and it's really hard to describe. It is a survival horror adventure, right? In 3D, really unique art style, but it's also in a procedurally generated world. So you have these you have these different characters, and each of the characters acts as a life and as a perspective. So if you lose that character, if they meet an unfortunate fate, then you lose access to that character. And if all the characters are dead, the game regenerates a new scenario, a new village, and I have never played anything like it. It was really cool. It was one of those games that you immediately look at and go, "Oh, wow, you can make something like that." I don't know. I got a little angry seeing it, and that's usually my response when something is very, very good. So just get a little pissed off that it hasn't happened before. There is a Heart Space Shipbreaker, which looks very good. It is a game about basically salvaging and exploring spaceships and then taking them apart for resources. So you find all these derelicts floating around in space and then explore them. It was announced a little while ago. It looks incredible. It's very colorful for a space game, which I kind of miss that in a lot of space games. Honestly, they all are so like gray and realistic, and everything's shiny. And turns out I kind of prefer the other style where it's just we're in space, everything is colorful and bright. I tend to like that one better. Let's see what else. There's so much. Like if you just boot up itch.io at the moment, it's ridiculous how much stuff is coming out. And a lot of games at the moment, especially on itch, are reduced in price. I think a lot of indies understand that they make games, but right now a lot of people need games, but can't necessarily afford games. So a lot of people are discounting their game or even making their game entirely free, which is very, very nice to see. So yeah, there's a lot.
That's some top recommendations there, Rami. Thank you very much. And I've taken up loads of your time today, but I just wanted to finish on one question. And we sort of touched on it before, but we sort of share a passion for the Destiny franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered what your thoughts were of like this season, or sort of the state of the game at the moment. How do you think it's going?
I mean, I think it's in an okay state at the moment. One of the things I really appreciate about Bungie is their willingness to really experiment with the sort of core set of the game, right? And it's something that garners them a lot of criticism because people always have the answers. People always know what they need to change. But there's a huge difference between having an opinion on the internet and having to actually make a thing, sustain a thing, and figure out how to balance the needs of one group of players against the other group of players. I think Bungie has been really good at trying out things for us for a certain amount of time and then seeing whether it works, right? And I think these past two seasons with the last season, but now also Season of Dawn and Season of the Worthy, I think they're really showing that they're trying to figure out how to get that sort of core play loop down, right? How to make it interesting, how to make sure that every activity is rewarding in an interesting way. And it feels like they're making... this season feels like they're putting some pawns in place, right? I think they learned, because people forget that when Bungie makes a season, they are effectively working on the next one and probably already in pre-production or even production for the one after that. So a lot of choices based on what Season of the Dawn did, those won't manifest in any way in the game until next season, after Season of Worthy. So I don't know. I have to say I haven't. The idea of this season is really cool. The sort of core play loop for it just isn't really for me. It's a lot of do this thing over and over and over again. But I think part of it is that they're trying to move a lot of the. I think they needed time to move a lot of rewards from specific places to more gameplay activities. I'm also not a huge PvP player, so Trials of Osiris is just kind of lost on me. So I don't know. I think it's in an interesting space design wise, like in terms of like process, in terms of future. I have very high hopes for what comes next. This season isn't super for me, so I'll do my weeklies. I'll run around. I'll punch some of my friends in the face. We'll go do some strikes or a raid or something, and then you just go back to. I really like what my armor looks like, which is the most important thing about Destiny, I think. My guns shoot good, my armor looks nice, so I'm happy. I'm really happy with what the game is. I ain't playing for like 2 hours every day, which actually might be good, because otherwise my islanders will be very upset with me, and you know.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance between. I'm finding that at the minute with Destiny and Animal Crossing, they're kind of both quite they're games that need attention.
They're 100% like FOMO games. They're both like that's the thing I love about Animal Crossing. It's a brutal game. Like Animal Crossing takes no hostages, and it's been really funny seeing it in the fandoms. We were talking about Doom and Animal Crossing earlier. But like the entire Doom community is kind of like, just the game is hard. Take your time, relax. Don't worry if you can't beat the boss in one go. It takes a few tries. And the Animal Crossing community is just like, here's a spreadsheet that has all of the stuff. If you miss this before March is over, you won't be able to get this fish again until December. So you better get that fish. You got to upgrade that building. Got to pay off Tom Nook in the next 3 days. And it's just like, wow. But yeah, Animal Crossing is a hardcore game. It just doesn't look it. But like Destiny, it uses very similar sort of like fear of missing out, like ownership, that kind of stuff. Animal Crossing is a fascinating game. I love the games industry's awareness of just how evil Animal Crossing is, while at the same time being so joyous and pleasant that actually nobody cares.
It really couldn't have come at a better time. And have you created a tarantula island for farming yet?
No, I haven't. But that's exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's so good. It's terrifying, but it's so. It's like let's. If you completely If you completely clear an island of all resources so that no bugs can spawn, no other bugs can spawn, it will always pick the tarantula. That's wild. And also exactly Animal Crossing. Like people min-max everything. I love it.
With an hour of farming or so, you can pick up about 25 or 30 tarantulas. I'm not sure I'd want 25 or 30 tarantulas in my pockets, but I think the money's the bells are worth it.
Yep. Yeah, it's been really fun. So I've been trying to play with no time travel, no exploits, no anything. So I'm actually very early in the game compared to a lot of people, because I need to stretch this game. Like I know I need to stretch this game. If I go through it too fast, in like a week and a half, I'm going to be out of stuff to play, or 2 weeks. Animal Crossing, if you want to get to an sort of like an ending state of the game, it usually takes like 2 or 3 months. But if you exploit your way through it, it goes a little faster. And I really need Animal Crossing right now. So, although there's so much good stuff coming up as well, like the Final Fantasy VII remake. So good. I really didn't expect to like it that much, but yeah, it's my the hard thing with doing a remake like that is you're not trying to make that game again. You're trying to make the memory of that game, and the memory of a game is always better than the game is. They are making a game that is my memory of Final Fantasy VII. Like the demo, just the going into that Mako reactor and just seeing that building, and I'm just like, wow, yep, this is what I was imagining as a kid.
I was super impressed, and we've also got Resident Evil 3, I think, as well. So
I I cannot play horror games. This is a thing people don't know this about me, but like I adore horror games because they use so many tricks of the trade in such blatant ways. But I even in like broad daylight with like friends on the couch, I can't do it. There's no way. I had a friend that was playing Resident Evil 7 on the TV next to me while I was playing Zelda. And I just remember the moment I got the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild, they got a major scare in Resident Evil and just yelled and jumped up from the couch. And I dropped my Switch mid Master Sword reveal animation. And it's just like, you know what? Horror games have done it now. Like, I appreciate them, but I'm never going to interact with them again because I can't do it.
there's a lot of really good games to look forward to. And Rami, I've taken up loads of your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. I know it's a bit of a weird sort of situation that we're all in, and I think you've mentioned a lot of sort of great things that we can do to sort of chip in and help each other out there. But I just want to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us on This Week in Video Games. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was lovely.